By the way, is Full Sail still a thing? Like, does that
That's a great
university
question.
still exist? Do people
The
go and
college?
get degrees? Yeah, degrees in video game.
I only know about Full
Development?
Sail because they used to hold wrestling shows there. That's where NXT,
Right.
the like tiny show from WWE, was, but not anymore.
Like, I remember, they were a big deal, like, around the time this game came out, 2006, but I honestly haven't heard anything about them in, like, a decade. Like, it's...
I mean, it's a for-profit university that preys on people that want to make video games and gives you degrees that
Right.
aren't necessarily very useful, so...
There was a time where it seemed like that was at least respected in the video game industry, and I'm not sure that's still the case.
Oh, Jesus
Let's
Christ.
fucking-
Full Sail has a 39% graduation rate.
They burn people out. My
Yeah.
understanding
Oh, man.
is most of the semesters are projects that are multi-team. So imagine most of your grade being a collaborative project with other students that also demands you work almost full-time on it for no money.
Oh my
and
God.
that'll burn
Oh
some
my
people out.
God.
The median
I've
salary
actually
after
experienced
attending-
that.
The median salary after attending is $55,000 for computer programming BS, which is also the best case. If you're getting an audio-visual communications technology BS, median salary is 22 grand. What the fuck?
That's pretty
Can I
fucking
just give
garbage,
some
even for the
advice?
video game industry.
Yeah.
Can I give some advice to people who might be listening who are young? Don't do that. If you want to learn how to do
fuck
video
no.
editing, go on YouTube. You will find some great shit. If you want to learn how to make very basic games, baby's first game, go on YouTube. You will find some shit. Like, don't
Yeah.
do this.
Conjuring armor.
Why are we naked?
It's the... Yeah, well, holy shit.
Because we touched that stone and it gave us conjured bound gloves, but because the rest of our armor is a full suit armor,
Okay.
we can't wear that with it. So I guess we'll put on the Kvatch cuirass and then run around in these snowfields without any shoes.
Anyway, Mumbles, you were right, and sorry I interrupted.
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing is, if you want to learn really complex coding, obviously find a good school. Like, there are things that you can do, but if you're really just interested in content creation or you're interested in making tiny games, like, I taught myself how to do RenP, and I'm currently working on a RenP game, and I taught myself how to do Bitsy. I've made fucking 4 games on Bitsy, and it's so easy. So it's like, if your passion is to make things and learn how to make things, don't go to college first. First teach yourself and then go to college if it needs to happen that way.
I don't know if I've brought this up, but I'm actually currently in the process of learning C#.
Hell yeah.
Oh, neat.
That's amazing. But the thing is you don't need to learn C# to make video games, kids. You really
Oh,
fucking
sure,
don't.
yeah, absolutely.
Son, Martin Septim.
I'll be honest, the main
You need to
reason I
learn
started...
C# to make XNA video games.
So C# is the scripting language that Unity uses. And
Well, thank you.
I had a thing that I got reasonably cheap for Unity, like a module that lets you make specific kinds of games. And I was like, oh cool, yeah, I can easily do this and this and this. But what if I want to do that and then that's when you need to start spending the time to learn weirder stuff, is when you start wanting to do bizarre shit. But there's so much there's never been more tools that you could just jump into really quickly,
Blades.
and it's not gonna burn you out figuring out how it works.
And his son
You really do just need to budget a light afternoon to get into some of the floor level game design, game development tools.
true son of Uriel.
And if you screw around that long enough, it is going to teach you stuff that's going to transfer over to if you start making more complex projects.
You will be safe here until you can take up your throne.
Learning C# has been way easier because I fucked around with Twine, which is just
Right.
this rock bottom simple platform for making hypertext choose your own adventure style games.
I won't keep going on this, but I'm also very passionate about it. But each small step that you take, you can teach yourself more and more stuff. And so if you start at the bottom level with like Bitsy, for example, you can learn the very basics of what coding is. And then you can teach yourself Twine. And then you can teach yourself RenP. And then you can just keep going up and up and up, you know? And I think that's really what you need to be doing, instead of like, I'll just go to Full Sail and they'll teach me everything I need to know.
By now, if it weren't for you.
Yeah, because the end reward for spending all of that money is that you're going to get a job at a game development studio. They're going to pay you half the industry going rate. You're going to burn out in 12 months, and you'll get laid off as soon as the game launches.
Guess what, motherfuckers? There's a video game engine that you can make Game Boy games with. It's a Game Boy game engine. It basically works like RenP, so it's fairly visual instead of just coding. And you can get a game put on the fucking Game Boy or the Playdate. Like, that is exciting. If you're a creative person, do that shit.
Maybe Joffrey.
Hell, the 3DS had an RPG Maker port on it. Like that was legit, not even like ROM hack shit. Like you could actually use that on a normal 3DS.
Sorry, Cam, so what were you gonna say?
All practitioners have daydreamed.
No, I was going to say when I was in college, one of the there was I think it's a shitty hand hacked homebrewed emulator based API, but it was Visual Ham, which was a GBA emulator / development environment, and it was really cool to be able to get your game up and running in a way that theoretically could be deployed to a Game Boy Advance.
Yes.
So like that's it's really fun to work in these limited spaces, whether it's Pico 8 or even like Doom Engine mods, right? Like find an old Doom engine. Z-Doom at this point can do a ton of stuff, and you don't need a ton of coding knowledge to make something really cool.
And, I mean, I don't know if this is still true, but I know that BioWare used to hire writers who could make an entire, like, story mod in, like, one of their older games.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Followed a different path.
Yeah, I've definitely heard about that.
Didn't that also happen at
power?
Well, did you say BioWare? Because I was thinking of Neverwinter
Yeah.
Nights. Yeah,
That's
I think
it.
that happened.
I think that's it.
So.
Yeah, I think that's it. And I don't know if they still do that anymore, but you can really cut your chops doing shit like that, and then you can get yourself into the industry if that's really where you want to go. I mean, if you just want to make little games, just make little games like I do.
Please just.
Ironically, this dovetails with a conversation we were having last week about how the AAA game industry is, if not dying, just contracting into a couple of video games a year. And like, do you even really want to be in AAA video game development anymore? Like, who really wants to be doing that? I'm sure there are people who would say, yes, I do, but like, you know...
With 4 years of schooling and a lot of that, you too
stuff,
could be the person
like...
responsible for particle effects on weapons
And it's
in Sequel 6 to a game.
It's a contract job on top of everything else. So sometimes you get a job at a video game studio just for one fucking game, and then when you're done, see ya, bye, hope you saved your money.
What can I do for you?
I mean, that's true for even full-time positions at this point, right? Like, a lot of places... It's less bad now than I think it was in the late 2000s, early 2010s, where, like, studios would literally binge and purge as projects ramped on and off. But it still very much happens where a game comes out and either underperforms or the company decides to move in a different direction and invest resources elsewhere because the kinds of games your studio is known for making are no longer in vogue, and now we want to go to live service games, or live service games, you know, as we're seeing with Suicide Squad, are no longer in vogue. So now we're going to move to a different kind of game. And even though your studio might be perfectly capable and skilled of doing a different kind of game, it's not what your brand is known for, so we're going to lay you all off. I'm sorry, we're going to move in a different direction.
I think at the minimum, the mandatory like first day, like day zero of your game development career training should be watching like 10 episodes of Matt McMuscle's What Happened series about just like the complex development cycles of famous or infamous games.
Will you join us?
It's like it'll kind of it's a good like reality check on like this is what it looks like. Whatever you think it's going to be, this is what it is. And I'm not saying it's all bad. I mean, like there's a lot of people who find it like really rewarding and interesting and like but you know it's just like don't have an idealized view of what it's going to be.
I have my
want
criticism.
To join the Blades faction.
Do we have to? Are these the same
Yep,
assholes from Skyrim?
Well, yes, but
God, I hate these people.
they're no longer the Imperial bodyguards and stuff in Skyrim. I'm gonna say yes because A, this is a faction in this game, but there's nothing actually involved with it. You can't gain any ranks or anything. And B, I mean, we can steal all their stuff without it being stolen. So
Yeah, we get our own
It is my
glorious
honor to welcome you
Akaviri
into our
steel.
ranks as a Knight Sister of the Blades.
our cosplay, our white people cosplaying Japanese stereotypes.
I think it does
and
diminish,
including such things as one-handed katanas.
I think it diminishes what they were going for here. That like you literally get your job offer standing in the middle of the courtyard, and some monk just kind of hands you your sword like it's like your ID lanyard.
Yes.
Here you go, bud. Welcome to our little LARPing gang.
Like yeah, like that's very much the vibe. Here you go, bud. Like there's just an umbrella stand of 20 katanas downstairs.
This is a fucking nice base too. Like everything's clean. They got books.
It's just
Pagoda.
over that mountain is the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim.
It is good to be back here. It
But
raises
going
my
back to
spirits
maybe
just to walk
before
these
you go into
ancient
game
halls
development,
again.
I think I have my
We will prevail.
criticisms of it, but
We
the
must
Double Fine
prevail.
documentary on the creation of Psychonauts 2, despite
right.
like
We must
I am
try to
unconvinced
recover
that
the
any
amulet before
documentary
the enemy
made
takes
and
it
paid
out
for
of our
by a
reach.
studio is ever going to
You
be
should
able
go
to
back to the
realistically
Imperial
capture
City.
the
For us,
warts
we
and
have
all
learned
of what
something
it's
about
like
the
to develop
assassin.
for that studio.
You'll
No
find
studios
more
are going to
of
pay
the
for
boarding house
a
in the Elven
documentary
Gardens
that says
district of
their
the Imperial
process is
City.
dog shit. But
Yeah.
But I think it's really instructive
He-
because it's such a laboriously
fortress is well
long
supplied
fucking
with
documentary.
arms
It's
and
like literally
armor.
24 hours
Use
long.
what you need from the armory in
Um,
the East Wing.
That it shows you the monotony of game development. How like you can kind of picture what the game's going to be
This place was
by
built
episode
Raymond
1,
Cyrodiil's
but they've
Akaviri
got
Dragon
2
Guard
or
at the
3 years
founding
left
the
of just
Second Empire.
iterating on it over and
Since then,
over and
it has
over and
served the
over and
Blades as
over and over and
headquarters,
fighting about it
fortress, and
over and
sanctuary.
over and over.
We can protect
And
Markin
like
here
that's
until
game
you recover
development.
the amulet
Like
of
anyone
Kings.
who's worked in the industry will tell you, the game doesn't get found till the
Amulet
last
of
6 months
Kings is
before
the key to
release,
everything
and that
now.
is both
Once we
cool
have
and also
that,
really
Martin can
sucks.
use it to light the dragon fires in the Temple of the One.
This is actually also
Reseal
why
the
I
barriers between
really do
Oblivion
suggest,
and
for all
Oblivion.
of me talking about the game industry, I very much echo Mumbles' make your own games. And there's another reason for that. One reason why I suggest that everyone who's really into video games and like kind of likes thinking about games, even when you're not playing them, make their own game, is because the experience of making even a
Please forgive
simple
me, but I'm
game,
afraid I
just
haven't
soup
got
to
time
nuts,
to
like
talk right
the images, the sounds, the writing, the scripting, the design, really, even when it's on such a simple, impossibly small scale compared to something that's AAA, it really, really shows you how much of a miracle every single video game is.
Let's pop back to
Well,
As soon as you
That's
go to
why-
go ahead.
oh yeah, no, my bad. I was just gonna say, I mean, like, so I make the Bitsy games, and most of them, they can take you anything from an hour to like 2 weeks to get exactly what you want. But like, you'll find yourself being like, this seems like a really simple idea, and then forcing yourself to make it smaller so it can
Sweet.
fit into the engine. And I think that is really one of the more beautiful things about making video games, is that you'll have this idea that's huge, and then you'll have like, it has to be in the confines of this game engine, and it'll teach you how to work with the code. And I think that's why, and you'll have something within a couple weeks instead of a couple years. That's another thing. And so that's a really great ego boost for you, that you made something within a month.
Oh, totally. Like, I think that's why
I'm Tolga.
more established game
Herald
devs
to
love
Talisman
jams.
Tarvain here in
I'm
Britain.
not particularly
She
fond
requests
of
your
game
company at
jams
your
because,
earliest
like,
convenience.
as somebody with a day job who also works
Countess
on
Carve
multiple web
would
shows on the
prefer if you
side, I don't
speak
have
to
time
her
to
in
burn an
person.
entire weekend
She also
crunching.
said,
Oh, yeah.
But like,
with this stipend,
I think
taste of
for
the
game
biggest
devs, it really
job.
gets their juices flowing to be able to go from
My
literally
lady
nothing but an
holds
idea
court
to a
from 8
finished
in the
product
morning
over
until 6 in
20,
the
48
evening
hours.
each day.
And like,
That would be the best time.
I think you're right. I think having something like a Pico 8 or a Z-Doom or
Countess is in
Twine
it.
or some other really constrained creative space that lets you finish something just by nature of having it require to be so simple really, really helps,
only
because
ask-
it means you have to see your idea through all the way. and it's something that is achievable, as opposed to like loading up Unity or Unreal and being like, well, I used a bunch of prefab assets to make a really pretty town, and you can't do anything in it, and then I stopped working on it, and then whatever.
Yep.
Which is
It demystifies video games in a way that makes them also just 1,000 times more
What?
impressive. Like
Armor.
the
Beautiful.
other day,
Yeah.
Take
yeah,
your
like
time.
beautiful. Like the other day, I was playing Lost Judgment, and I just I completed a
Oh,
quest,
that's great.
and
You're wasting
because I completed the
your
quest,
work,
like
really?
the little menu came
Interesting.
up that just showed me how many points I got in
That's
all the different
great.
stats.
Don't waste your flattery
For
on me.
the teacher
It's
subplot, like all
well
your
done.
leadership stats, like gain a little
I
increase.
don't talk such rot.
And I had this moment of what I can only call
Oh, that's
vertigo,
great.
where I
That's
realized
way
like
too
how
much.
much work went into just making
No,
sure that this
well
was
done.
working properly. Like you had to have the idea to have these quest lines. You had to have the idea. You had to agree on all these stats. You had to agree on what the stats were. You had to figure out what each stat is tied to. You have to figure out how many points, like how
I have a
quickly
large
should you earn these
selection of
stats?
both.
Because you can do these in any order. So and you need certain thresholds of stats to start certain other quests. So you need to create not only a valid pathway where you're getting these stats enough that you're unlocking all of the quest lines at the right rate, but you're also creating alternate pathways where like, well, maybe I could do this and then this, that makes sense and kind of create different ways to experience all the content. And then you got to get like the triangle chart, and you got to make sure it's working right and it's displaying the right thing, and you got to make sure that it comes up. You got to figure out when it comes up at the end of each thing. Like, is it between this scene and that scene? Is it after this line of dialogue? And then you got to test it, and then you got to test it, and then you got to test it, and then you got to test it. And
Yeah.
I just, Jesus, like it's something that you're supposed to take for granted. Like it's something they're really just like expecting you to take for granted.
And
Yeah, it's like, and then you learn that the ideas side of it is the easiest part. Like, for example, I'm making a RenP game, and I can't draw, so I'm going to have to outsource the art. And so right now I'm kind of going through portfolios and then trying to figure out how much it's going to cost me to make this fucking RenP game. And like what things I want to cut. Like how many expressions can I have? How many backgrounds can I have? All of these different, how many items can I have? All of these things I have to keep into account, and how much money I want to spend on this recreational thing that I'm doing for myself. You know what I mean?
Hi there.
Yeah, it's like not even
I'm
the
Suraj.
execution that's
This better be
like the execution is obviously wicked hard, but it's like once you have the idea, that's 1%
Don't talk
of
like
coming up with the
I wish I
idea.
could-
Yeah.
You think that's
The other
funny?
99% of coming up with the idea is just
Try to
like
manipulate
getting the
that.
idea into some kind of
Well done.
interactive shape. Like where you, the creator, can interact and
No,
make it real,
So
where you can realize it.
remarkable.
It's like, yeah, I've come up with
Don't
this
talk
thing.
such
I have this idea. I know
remarkable.
exactly what it's going to be like. That,
So,
until you actually have to
yes,
sit down and
yes,
write down on
whatever
paper
you
what the
say.
scope of it is, and you realize, oh, 90% of this is big blanks full of, well, I'll figure that
Really
out. Or, oh,
interesting.
well, that'll be obvious once I get there. Well, I've got there, and it's not
What a
obvious.
great- What?
Right.
Yes, yes. Whatever you say. That's.
I love
just
that we have
not
just had like
funny.
an hour-long conversation about the complexities of making games and how the fact
What a
that any
great-
game
whatever you
exists is a miracle, and we should all be
That's
appreciative.
just all right.
And then we're gonna go back to making fun of how all the NPCs in this game are fucking idiots.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, we're gonna go
looks
back
like
and make.
Data.
Yeah, this the. It looks like Data mixed with Boomhauer.
Data with Goo Luigi on it.
Oh boy. Just go back to like roasting the developing technology of face gen as it was implemented in this cutting edge role playing game from like 18 years ago.
What are we doing?
I'm making room in my pack so I don't have to be
Are we part of the Blades now?
constantly carrying around a bunch of.
We
Yes,
are.
we are part of the
We are.
Blades. Which
Do we have to kill a
involves,
dragon? I don't want to kill a dragon.
I don't think there's any in this game.
Yeah, there are no dragons in this game.
What is the point of them if not for killing dragons?
Well, they're the sort of the Praetorian Guard for the emperors.
They didn't do a very
So
good job.
this is all basically their fault right now.
They're also fantasy CIA.
Yeah.
Then why are they
Again, I
fighting
hate
dragons
the
in Skyrim?
Because that's 200 years later. They're no longer the Praetorian Guard. What they are around to do, like, help save the Empire shit.
They're vigilantes, essentially.
Oops,
Dirty
shit.
vigilantes.
Yeah.
Be seeing you.
So, prompted by nothing, I don't usually feel old when people talk about how old something is. This is mostly in response to Rescarn saying that this game is 18 years old, which I guess does make me feel a little old, because I remember playing this game when it was new, and it does not feel almost 2 decades ago.
Yeah.
But one thing that does make me feel old is when, like, things can recontextualize how I think of time. And one that I heard lately was that I know as a guy pushing 40, I should spend less time on TikTok, but I saw a TikTok where somebody was responding to a comment that was made where they said that they were in kindergarten when Frozen came out, and that just made my blood run cold, because that doesn't seem possible. But someone who was in kindergarten when Frozen came out is like a sophomore, a junior in high school now.
Yeah.
I'm throwing up. I
That's
don't
a
know.
rough road
It's
to
nice
hoe.
getting old. It's nice getting old. And the other thing is that it's neat that we're all old and we still play video games. Because, like, I know so many people who used to play games, they don't fucking play games anymore. And I think that's lame.
I'm definitely playing more video games now than I did when I was in my mid-20s.
I was playing more, but then I started doing the stupid Children of Doom episode, and now I'm just playing like 6 fucking first-person shooters, and I kind of hate myself. But when I'm doing blips, I'm playing a lot of indie games.
I offer the finest goods.
I
and
thankfully
lowest
did not have
prices
to
in all
replay
cities.
Dragon Age 2 for my Dragon Age Staves video because I had a bunch of footage from the Let's Play that I did fucking 6 years ago. So when you see
I'm
that
so
footage,
envious.
it's literally just from the Let's Play.
That's a fair
Oh,
deal.
that's so nice.
It was so nice, man.